very much for watching this practice session. During our previous practice sessions, we covered how you can write good introductions for your IELTS writing, task 2, and how you can write good main body paragraphs and how you can expand your ideas and write a coherent and high-scoring essay. Now, this session, we are going to go through how you can write a coherent, clear, and high-scoring conclusion that would end your essay in the best possible way and give you that score that you want. Now, I am not going to go through the details of writing introductions and main body paragraphs during this session because we have already covered them during our previous sessions, and you can go check them out. If you are new and you haven't watched our previous practice sessions, I would highly advise you to do so, because if you don't watch them, then the things that we are going to cover during this session will not make a lot of sense to you. So please go check them out if you haven't, and if you have, let's get to it. So this is a question that we have been practicing with since our previous session. In some countries, many people suffer from health problems due to eating too much fast food. It is therefore necessary for governments to impose a higher tax on this kind of food. Do you agree or disagree? So this is the question we're working with. And if you guys remember, this was my conclusion from last session. My first sentence is a paraphrase. I have paraphrased the main question statement. I have said it in my own words. It is claimed that governments should impose a tariff on fast food as health issues caused by its consumption are increasing. So this is my paraphrase. Second sentence, I have outlined my main idea. I have stated what I think about the essay clearly. I support the idea that fast food companies should pay a high tax. This is my opinion about the question. I have directly answered the question. Now, here I have outlined the main ideas of my paragraph, and I have explained them in a very, very brief manner to the reader. So, because this has already been successfully implemented on alcohol and cigarettes. So, this is my first main idea. This is about the first thing I'm going to talk about in my essay. And this is my second main idea. And increased taxes could boost prices and reduce consumption. This is the second thing I'm going to talk about in my essay. Now, this is my complete introduction. It is clear, it is obvious, it has outlined all of my ideas and my opinions to the reader clearly, and it is saying to the reader that, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Reader, this is what this essay is going to be about. Now, these two are my main bodies, and we have written this one together during our previous session, and I'm going to read it for you guys and cover it very, very briefly. So, I have opened my paragraph with a topic sentence. A topic sentence is like a mini conclusion for your essay. It again tells the reader, like, this is what this essay is going to be about. It outlines and summarizes the main idea of your essay. So, high taxes on alcohol and tobacco have successfully decreased the damage caused by these products. So, the reader knows what my paragraph is going to be about. Then, I have given some explanations on why I think this, how is this effective, and I have generally expanded and explained my idea. So, this is it. The income from alcohol and tobacco taxes has funded treatments for disease caused by these substances in the past and has supported campaigns alerting people to the risks of their use. If applied to fast food companies, the revenue could be used to treat related health conditions caused by these foods, raise awareness of their harm, and promote alternatives. For example, many countries are already using the tax income from fast food companies to make whole foods cheaper and more available. Now, this last part is my example, And as we already covered during our previous practice session, you always bring an example at the end of your main body paragraphs to demonstrate to the examiner that you know what you're talking about, and you can use examples. Now, I'm not going to get into that, just know this is my example. This first part was my topic sentence, and this one was my explanation. Now, that being said, I have written the second main body paragraph on my own, and you can pause and read it, because if you do, then understanding the rest of the session will be easier for you. And take a moment to read it. The structure is exactly like my first main body paragraph. I start with a topic sentence, explanation, and then an example. But we're not going to cover it right now because we don't have time. And let's move on to the conclusion as fast as possible. So here we are, conclusion. Let me zoom in. No, I zoomed in way too much. Okay, this is enough. Now, conclusion. Let's go through it. What is a conclusion? As the name suggests, a conclusion is a summary of your entire essay. Now, the recommended structure for task 2 essays is something like this. Introduction, 2 main bodies, and 1 conclusion. So conclusion is your fourth and final paragraph. It is the ending paragraph of your essay. And what it does is that, as I said, it summarizes your entire essay. Now, what do you include in a conclusion? Firstly, you state your opinion in your conclusion. Secondly, you summarize your main ideas in your conclusion. And thirdly, the reader should understand what your essay is about just by reading your conclusion and your introduction. Now, before I go on to explaining all 3 of these, let me address an issue I know most of you right now have. And I'm going to tell you a story. So I had a student, and let's just call her Mina for the sake of the story. And she was a brilliant woman. She was extremely intelligent. Her English was very, very good. She was an English teacher herself, but she wanted to learn IELTS with me. So I was her mentor. I was tutoring her. I was helping her with her IELTS. And she had a lot of problems regarding her task 2 writing. And when she first brought her writing to me, the first thing I noticed was that her language was good, but her ideas were all over the place. She had inserted like 10 different ideas and 10 different things into her writing. And I immediately knew that was a problem. And I told her this, and she didn't accept it. And she told me that her previous teachers had told her that you shouldn't repeat your opinions and your ideas in your essay. So she told me this is what my past teachers have told me. So I gave her an example, and this is the example I gave her. I told her that imagine you are arguing with a friend, and you and your friend are discussing when you should be going to the gym. So you are talking about that. When should I go to the gym? And in the middle of your speech about when you should be going to the gym, you start talking about your university, your mom, other friends, travel, and you try to insert all of these different things into your talk. Now, what's going to happen is that your friend is going to be very, very confused by what you are talking about, because the topic of the conversation is when you are going to the gym. Now, how does that relate to IELTS writing? When you insert too many different ideas into your writing, what that does is that blocks communication. That doesn't communicate to the reader what you are trying to say. That makes your essay ununderstandable and messy. And what the IELTS examiners want from you is consistent ideas and consistent opinions, but varied language. What you shouldn't be repeating in your essay is your language, not your opinion. Now, when I told my student, Mina, about conclusions, and I told her that, well, you should state your opinion in your conclusion and you should summarize your ideas, she was like, well, I can't do that because I have already stated my opinion in my introduction and I've summarized my ideas. That would be too repetitive. And I told her that, oh, no, this is exactly your problem. You need to repeat your ideas. You need to repeat your opinions because they need to be consistent in order for you to write a good, clear, and high scoring essay. What you need to change is your language. And guys, the thing is, IELTS examiners don't really care about your ideas. They don't care if you have brilliant ideas. They don't care if you can bring 20 different ideas for a question about that. They care about your language. They care if you can communicate clearly and effectively in English. That's all the examiners score and care about. Don't give them things they don't care about. Don't give them a lot of ideas. They don't care about your ideas. So, I wanted to address this concern before we move on to writing conclusions. If you think that you shouldn't repeat your opinions and that you shouldn't repeat your ideas, then you are thinking exactly unlike what the IELTS examiners think. And to write a good essay, to write something that can actually communicate to people and prove a point, you need to repeat your idea. They need to be consistent, or you might say repetitive, but you need to vary and change your language. So, now that we've addressed that, let's go through it. So, state your opinion. What do I mean by this? If you take a look at my introduction right here, you can see that here in this sentence, I have stated my opinion clearly. I support the idea that fast food companies should pay a higher tax. This is what I mean by stating your opinion clearly. I have clearly said what I think about this question. So this is exactly what you need to do in your conclusion. Now, the second thing, summarize your ideas. Now, again, just like in my introduction, as you can see, I have outlined and summarized my main ideas. What are my main ideas? So, fast food companies should be taxed highly because this has already been implemented on alcohol and cigarettes and has been successful. My first idea. And increased taxes could boost prices and reduce consumption. My second idea. Now, I haven't gone into any detail. I have just outlined them and summarized them generally. This is exactly what you need to do in your conclusion, and this is what I mean by summarizing and stating your ideas. So, you state your opinion, you summarize your ideas, and one very important point that you need to be careful of when writing when writing conclusions is that if I take out your conclusion from your essay, I need to understand exactly what your essay was about. Now, if you take out any good book, any good academic article or essay, the common theme is that they will always have conclusions and introductions. Any good piece of writing has a conclusion and an introduction. Why is that? Because your introduction tells the reader, hi, this is what my essay is going to be about. Your conclusion tells the reader, hey, this is what I just talked about. Firstly, writing conclusions and introductions helps communicate to the examiner that you are aware of writing structures, that you can write a coherent and structured essay, and secondly, it helps them understand your essay. Now, I think I've already explained this, or maybe not, but one thing that examiners are absolutely sick of is seeing essays that don't make any sense. And you guys think that examiners just magically understand everything that you write and that they are like geniuses sitting behind desks, and that's not true. Most examiners are just English speakers. And just like everyone else, they get tired when they see complicated essays that don't make any sense and that they can't understand. Like this happens with me. A lot of the times when I try to read the essays of my students, I don't understand what they're trying to say, and it's frustrating. So when you don't include conclusions and introductions, your essays get very messy, and it's very difficult to understand what you're trying to say. So when examiners read your essay, they are going to dismiss your mark because they don't understand it. And if they don't understand it, then your boss or your teacher or your classmates will not understand your essays when you immigrate to an English-speaking country. When you immigrate to Canada, to US, to UK, anywhere you want to go, you need to be able to write clear conclusions and clear introductions for every piece of writing that you write. So it's a very, very important thing. Do not dismiss conclusions or introductions and write them in a way that summarizes your entire essay. As I said, if I take out your conclusion or your introduction, I need to be able to understand what your essay is about, generally. Okay? So, as I said, a conclusion is a summary of your essay where you state your opinion, you summarize your ideas, and if I take it out of your essay, I should understand what your essay is about just by reading it. Now that we are clear on what an conclusion is and what you should include in it, let's go on through the different components of it. So, if you guys remember from our previous session, which was on main bodies, I told you that main bodies consist of 3 different parts: topic sentence, explanation, and example. Your conclusions are exactly the same way. There are 3 different components to conclusions. First, cohesive device, opinion, and the summary of your ideas. Now, let's go through them one by one. Oh, sorry. So, what is a cohesive device? A cohesive device is a word that communicates to the reader that you are starting or beginning your conclusion. Now, it could be something like in conclusion or to conclude, something like this. For example, let me use in conclusion. In conclusion. So, this is how you always start your conclusions. This is what you start your conclusions with. Now, I personally only use 2 cohesive devices in my task 2 essays. I either bring in conclusion or to conclude. Now, there are other cohesive devices you can use, but I advise you to only use 2 or 1 because memorizing many cohesive devices is very, very unnecessary and it takes extra time and energy, which doesn't really contribute to your score, so don't do it. Just pick 1 or pick 2 and always use them in your task 2 essays because you're only going to write 1 task 2 essay in your test, so it doesn't matter. Just pick 1 or pick 2. Now, first, you bring your cohesive device, then you state your opinion clearly, just like in your introduction. Now, this is how I would say it. To conclude, for example, I think fast food companies should face higher taxes. Now, I could paraphrase this further, but to demonstrate the point to you very, very clearly and obviously, this is good enough. So, I think fast food companies should face higher taxes. This is what I think. This is my opinion on the question very clearly, just like the way I have outlined my idea in my introduction. Now, as you can see, the one in my conclusion is different in language. It's a paraphrase, but the idea is the same. So, I think that fast food companies should face higher taxes. I have stated my opinion clearly. Then, to summarize my ideas. Now, what do I mean by this? If you remember from my introduction, here I had outlined my ideas. Now, I have only talked about two main things in my essay. Firstly, that higher taxes on alcohol and tobacco have successfully decreased the damage, and this can be done for fast foods as well. And I also explained how raising taxes on fast food would increase prices and it would reduce consumption. Like people would eat less fast food if it wasn't so cheap and available. So these are the only two ideas I discussed, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to summarize them and exactly outline those in my conclusion. Now, before we move on, one very big mistake students make when summarizing their ideas in their conclusion is inserting new ideas. What do I mean by this? A lot of you guys start writing your conclusions and then, out of thinking that you shouldn't repeat your ideas, or just out of recklessness and not being careful enough, you start talking about new things. You start to insert new ideas and talk about things that you haven't talked about during your essay, and that is not good. Because if you remember, I explained to you that inserting too many ideas in your essays makes your essay very, very messy, inconsistent, and lowers your fluency. So don't do that. Do not insert any new ideas into your conclusion. Your conclusion needs to be only the summary of the ideas you have already discussed in your essay. So no new ideas. Just summarize what you have already said. And this is how it would look like for my essay. For example, like this. That would provide governments with revenue to treat related, for example, I could say disease, and promote healthier alternatives. So I have outlined my first main idea, that would provide governments with revenue to treat related disease and promote healthier alternatives. This is exactly what I talked about in my first main body. Now I'm going to summarize my second idea. Before we do that, I just had an idea. Instead of this, I'm going to expand it and I'm going to add this. This is going to make it way better. As has been, done with alcohol and tobacco. I never learned how to write tobacco properly. Tobacco. So, again wrong. Okay, so by adding this little thing right here, this little sentence, I am making my summary more related to my idea and I'm making it more clear. I'm exactly outlining that this is what I talked about here, because here I mentioned that higher taxes on alcohol and tobacco have successfully decreased the damage caused by these products. So I have also added that. Now, to make it a little bit better, I can just add something like this. Has been done successfully. Just add successfully to make it better and a little bit more clear. Okay, so that would provide governments with revenue to treat related disease and promote healthier alternatives, as has been done successfully with alcohol and tobacco. Now, I think this is very good. I don't need to make it any better. Now, let's move on to outlining and summarizing my second idea. And I could write something like this. It would also make fast food, you could say, less affordable and less attractive. Let me scroll. No. For daily consumption. Okay. So, as you can see, this is the whole of my conclusion. First, I used my cohesive device. In conclusion, then I outlined my opinion. Here, I can't highlight it. Okay, here we go. I think fast food companies should face higher taxes. I've outlined it clearly. I said what I think about the question. That would provide governments with revenue to treat related disease and promote healthier alternatives, as has been done successfully with alcohol and tobacco. I have outlined my first main idea. It would also make fast food less affordable and less attractive for daily consumption. This is the summary of my second main idea. And that's it. That is how you write conclusions. Now, if you guys want more training and if you want more free material, if you want to write essays yourself and want feedback on them, you can join in our community. You can text us, you can ask your questions in the comments, and we'll answer all of them. And thank you very much for watching this episode.